The space station Harbor 9 was always loud, crowded, and cold. Ships from 100 worlds docked there every day. Traders shouted. Engines roared. Lights flickered. For most beings, it was just another place to pass through. For Evan Carter, it was home. Evan was a human maintenance worker. He fixed broken doors, leaking pipes, and damaged power lines. The job paid little, but it was honest. Every day, he carried a small metal lunch box with him. Inside was the same thing he always made, simple food. Rice, cooked vegetables, and sometimes a little meat when he could afford it. That day started like any other. Evan was walking through a quiet service corridor when he noticed movement near a broken cargo crate. He slowed down. At first he thought it was rats, but then he heard a soft sound, a kind of weak chirping noise. He stepped closer. Behind the crate were 3 small alien children. They were thin, too thin. Their clothes were torn and dirty. Their skin was pale blue, stretched tight over small bones. Large eyes stared at Evan in fear. They froze when they saw him. Evan stopped walking. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly, raising his hands. He knew many aliens feared humans. Humans were bigger, louder, and had a reputation for being dangerous. The children whispered to each other in a language Evan didn't understand. One of them, the smallest, clutched their stomach. That sound again. Hunger. Evan looked at them for a long moment. Then he sighed, knelt down, and opened his lunch box. The smell of warm food spread through the air. The children's eyes widened. Evan slowly placed the box on the floor and slid it toward them. "I don't know if you can eat this," he said gently, "but you can try." Then he stepped back. The children didn't move at first. They watched him, waiting for a trick. But hunger was stronger than fear. One child crept forward. Carefully, they touched the food. Then they tasted it. Their eyes lit up. They grabbed more. The other 2 rushed in, eating fast but politely, as if afraid the food might disappear. Evan sat against the wall and watched quietly. When the lunch box was empty, the children looked up at him. One of them bowed their head slightly. Another made a soft, clicking sound that sounded happy. Evan smiled. "That's all I have today," he said, "but I'll be back tomorrow." The children looked confused, but Evan stood up and walked away. The next day, Evan came back with 2 lunch boxes. The children were already there, waiting. This time, they didn't hide. Word spread quickly among the station's forgotten corners. A human who gave food. A human who didn't ask questions. A human who didn't demand payment. Every day, more children came. Evan started cooking at night in his tiny rented room. He used his own credits. He skipped meals sometimes. He didn't mind. "They're just kids," he told himself. "Someone has to help." He never asked where their parents were. He never asked why no one came looking for them. What Evan didn't know was this. High above Harbor 9, beyond the public decks, hidden sensors were watching. Military-grade scanners, royal intelligence systems. The alien children belonged to a powerful species, one that ruled much of the known galaxy. Their mother was away, fighting a distant war. Enemies had tried to use her children as leverage. But instead of fear, the children found something else. A human, and every report sent back to the capital said the same thing. The human feeds them first. No threats, no demands, no reward, just food, warm food every day. The Empress read the reports in silence. She did not smile, she did not speak. But for the first time in many cycles, the ruler of the galaxy felt something unexpected. Relief. Back on Harbor 9, Evan handed out lunches, unaware that his simple kindness had already changed the fate of worlds. And this was only the beginning. Evan felt it before he ever saw it. The service corridor felt quieter than usual. Too quiet. The hum of distant engines sounded softer, like the station itself was holding its breath. The children were already there, Lyra, Kesh, Tal, and 2 more who had joined in recent days. They sat close together, backs straight, eyes alert. They weren't relaxed. "What's wrong?" Evan asked gently as he set his bag down. Lyra tilted her head, listening. Tal glanced toward the ceiling, then the walls. Kesh moved closer to Evan without realizing it. Evan followed their gaze. Nothing. Just metal panels, old lights, and the same cracked floor he walked every day. He shrugged and opened the lunch containers. "Must be a long day," he said. The children ate, but slower than usual. Between bites, their eyes kept moving, watching, listening. Evan didn't know why, but he stayed seated even after the food was gone. That choice mattered more than he would ever understand. Far above the public decks, inside a sealed observation chamber, dozens of screens glowed to life. The children appeared on every angle. So did Evan. Alien officers stood in silence. Their armor bore the sigil of an empire that ruled thousands of systems. At the center of the room, a tall figure watched without blinking. The Empress. "He remains unaware," an intelligence officer said softly. "No sign of fear, no attempt to exploit the situation." "Has he asked questions?" the Empress asked. "No, your radiance, not once." She studied Evan's image. The way he leaned slightly toward the children. The way he placed himself between them and the corridor entrance without thinking. "A dangerous ignorance," one general muttered. "If he learns who they are." "He won't," the Empress said coldly, "unless we fail." The room fell silent. Back on Harbor 9, trouble arrived on heavy boots. Evan heard them before he saw them. 3 station enforcers turned the corner. Their armor was worn, their expressions bored and cruel. One of them smirked when he saw the children. "Well, well," the enforcer said. "Looks like someone's been feeding unregistered aliens." The children stiffened. Evan stood up. "They're not hurting anyone," he said calmly. "That's not your call, human." The enforcer stepped closer. "Station law says." Evan didn't raise his voice. "They're hungry kids." The enforcer laughed and reached for Kesh's arm. He never touched her. The corridor lights flickered once, then went solid red. Every door sealed shut with a heavy clang. The enforcers froze. "What the?" one started. A voice echoed through the corridor, calm, cold. In a language no public system should have access to. "Step away." The enforcers backed up without thinking. Hidden panels slid open. Turrets, small, precise, and very real, tracked their movements. Evan stared in shock. I don't understand," he whispered. The children didn't look surprised. They moved closer to Evan, surrounding him like a shield. A moment later, the red lights faded. The doors unlocked. The turrets vanished as if they had never existed. The corridor returned to normal. The enforcers ran. Evan sank back against the wall, heart pounding. "What was that?" he asked. Tal met his eyes. For the first time, the child looked older than his years. "Protection," Tal said carefully, choosing the word with effort. Evan swallowed. "For who?" Tal hesitated, then pointed at Evan. That night, Evan didn't sleep. He replayed the moment again and again, the voice, the weapons. The fear in the enforcer's eyes. He thought about leaving. He thought about reporting it. Then he remembered Lyra's small hand on his bruised arm, Kesh sharing her food, Tal standing in front of him without fear. The next morning, Evan packed more food than ever before. When he arrived, the children were waiting. This time they weren't alone. A shadow lingered at the edge of the corridor, not a figure, but a presence, heavy, powerful, watching. Evan felt it on his skin. High above the station, the Empress turned from the screens. "Prepare the approach," she said quietly. "They have seen enough." Her advisors stiffened. "You will reveal yourself." "No," she replied, "not yet." She looked back at the image of Evan handing out food, smiling like nothing in the galaxy could touch him. "He protects my children without knowing who I am," she said. "That makes him rare." And for the first time, the ruler of the galaxy allowed herself a small, dangerous thought. What will the galaxy do when it learns what he has already done? The rumors did not start loudly. They began as small data packets, quiet messages sent through secure channels, short reports, careful words, nothing that would alarm the galaxy at first. A human feeds the children are safe. The human does not ask for reward. On Harbor 9, Evan noticed changes he could not explain. The corridor where he met the children was cleaner now. Broken lights were fixed overnight. The air filters worked better. Even the smell of rust was gone. Someone was taking care of the place. Evan arrived with his bag of food and froze. A thin metal bench stood against the wall. New, polished. Beside it sat a small heater unit quietly warming the space. Lyra touched it with wonder. "For you," Evan muttered, confused. "Or for us." The children smiled. They ate together, calmer than before, stronger. Their laughter echoed softly, and for the first time, Evan realized how much he looked forward to that sound. After the meal, Tal did something new. He stood up and faced Evan. He placed his small hand over his chest and bowed deeply. "Guardian," he said. Evan blinked. No, I'm not." But the children repeated it. "Guardian. Guardians." The word felt heavy. "I just bring lunch," Evan said gently. "That's all." But even as he said it, he stood the same way he always did, between them and the corridor. Across the station, eyes watched. Not hidden cameras this time, but people. Dockworkers noticed that station enforcers avoided one corridor completely. Merchants noticed that supplies sent to a certain human were never delayed. Smugglers noticed that their scanners glitched near the same location every day, and they talked. "There's a human," one whispered. "He's protected," another said. "By who?" No one knew. So the whispers spread outward, off the station, onto ships, into data networks that crossed stars. A kindness with no explanation was more frightening than any weapon. In the imperial capital, the Empress listened. "The rumor is growing," an advisor said. "They call him the Human Guardian." The Empress's eyes narrowed. "I did not authorize a title." "The children did," the advisor replied carefully. Silence followed. "Does he seek power?" The Empress asked. "No." "Fame?" "No." "Payment?" "None." The Empress leaned back slowly. "Then the galaxy will try to take advantage of him," she said. "Should we remove him from the station?" A general asked. The Empress's voice turned sharp. "No." The room stiffened. "He chose to stay," she continued. "He chooses them, that matters." She looked at the image on the screen, Evan laughing as Kesh tried to pronounce his name again. "Prepare contingencies," she said, "but do not interfere." The test came sooner than expected. Evan arrived late one day. A power failure on the lower decks had trapped him for hours. When he reached the corridor, his heart dropped. The children stood close together. In front of them was a tall alien in expensive clothing. His guards blocked the exits. "Well," the alien said smoothly, "so you're the human." Evan set his bag down slowly. "They're under my care," the alien continued. "Their species is valuable. I'm offering to take them somewhere better." Lyra pressed against Evan's leg. "No," Evan said. The alien smiled. "You don't understand the opportunity." Evan stepped forward. "They don't want to go." The guards raised their weapons. The station lights dimmed, not red this time. Gold. A pressure filled the corridor, silent, absolute. The guards collapsed to one knee, gasping. The tall alien fell backward, terror flooding his eyes. A voice filled the space, not loud, not angry. "Leave." They fled, the lights returned to normal. Evan stood frozen. The children looked up at him. "You see now," Tal said softly. Evan swallowed. "See what?" "That you are not alone." Evan looked around the corridor. At the bench, the heater, the repaired walls, at the galaxy that seemed to bend just a little around a man with a lunch bag. Far away, the Empress closed her eyes. "The whispers are no longer whispers," she said. "They are promises. Promises." The truth reached the Empress in silence. Not through rumors, not through whispers, but through the voices of her children. A secure channel opened in the heart of the Imperial command chamber. The advisors stepped back as three small figures appeared on the hollow display. Lyra, Kesh, Tal, they stood close together, clean, healthy, and strong. The Empress's breath caught. "You are safe," she said, keeping her voice steady. "Yes, Mother," Tal replied. His posture was perfect, trained, royal. The Empress noticed the smallest detail, the way all three of them glanced slightly off-screen before answering, as if checking with someone else. "Who is with you?" she asked. Lyra smiled. "The human." Evan had never seen a hollow emitter activate on its own. One moment he was handing out food. The next, golden light filled the corridor. Symbols he didn't recognize spun in the air, forming a clear image of a tall, powerful alien woman. Her presence was overwhelming. The children immediately bowed. Evan did not. He just stared. "I am their mother," the Empress said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of stars. Evan swallowed. "Okay." Advisors across the galaxy gasped. The Empress paused. "You show no fear," she observed. "They're kids," Evan said simply. "That doesn't change." For a long moment, the ruler of the galaxy said nothing. "You fed them," she said at last. "Protected them, asked nothing." Evan nodded. "They were hungry." The Empress rose from her throne. "In my empire," she said, "acts like yours are bought with titles, land, or blood." Evan shifted uncomfortably. "I don't want any of that." The children looked at him in alarm. The Empress studied him carefully. "What do you want, human?" she asked. Evan looked down at Lyra, at Kesh, at Tal. "I want them safe," he said, "and fed, that's it." Silence swept the chamber. The Empress bowed, not deeply, but enough. Every advisor froze. "You have given my children something no empire could," she said. "A normal life, a choice." She straightened. "From this moment on, you are under my protection." Evan blinked. "I already am." A flicker of something, amusement perhaps, passed through her eyes. "Yes," she admitted, "you are." The galaxy reacted instantly. News spread faster than light. A human defied the Empress. The Empress bowed for kindness. Enemies retreated. Allies watched in awe. Systems reconsidered old strategies, all because one man made lunch. The Empress gave one final command. "Prepare my transport," she said. "I will meet him properly." Evan didn't hear that part. He was too busy listening to Lyra explain, very proudly, how he cooked the vegetables the right way. For the first time in centuries, the ruler of the galaxy smiled openly, and the galaxy braced itself. No announcement was made, no trumpets, no public broadcast. When the Empress arrived at Harbor 9, only the station itself seemed to notice. Gravity stabilized with unnatural precision. Power fluctuations vanished. Traffic around the station slowed, then stopped, as if the galaxy itself was taking a breath. Evan was ladling food into containers when the corridor lights shifted. Not red, not gold, white, clean, calm, absolute. The children went still. "She is here," Tal said quietly. Evan's hand paused. "Who?" Before anyone could answer, the air folded. Reality bent inward, smooth and silent, and then she stepped through. The Empress of the Galaxy. She was taller than Evan, wrapped in flowing dark armor that looked more like art than protection. Her eyes held centuries of command. Power followed her like a shadow. Behind her stood no guards. She did not need them. The children ran to her. She knelt. That single act sent shockwaves through every monitoring system in known space. She embraced them, carefully, gently, pressing her forehead to theirs. For a moment the ruler vanished, leaving only a mother. Then she stood and faced Evan. The corridor felt smaller. "You are Evan Carter," she said. "Yes," Evan replied, no bow, no salute. The Empress studied him, the worn boots, the stained jacket, the simple food containers. "You fed my children with your own hands," she said. "You stood between them and danger." "They needed it," Evan said, a pause. "In my empire," she said slowly, "beings kneel when I enter." Evan shrugged. "You came into my lunchroom." The galaxy froze, data streams spiked. Fleets halted mid-jump. Entire civilizations waited for retaliation. The Empress laughed. It was soft, real. "No one has spoken to me like that," she said, "in a very long time." She stepped closer. "What you did cannot be repaid with credits," she continued, "or with titles." Evan looked uncomfortable. "Good." She tilted her head. "You do not wish to rule." "No, to command fleets." "No, to reshape worlds." Evan shook his head. "I just cook." The children beamed. The Empress lowered her voice. "Then hear me, human." She placed her hand over her chest, a royal vow. "By my word, by my throne, by the stars themselves. Anyone who harms you will answer to me." The station's structure hummed as if acknowledging the oath. Evan exhaled. "That seems excessive." The Empress smiled. "For feeding my children," she said, "it is insufficient." Later, after she left, life on Harbor 9 tried to return to normal. It failed. Ships rerouted to pass near the station. Trade increased. Crime vanished from entire decks. And in a quiet service corridor, Evan continued making lunch. But now, the children ate without fear. Far across the galaxy, rulers and warlords whispered the same question: what kind of human makes an empress kneel? And none of them liked the answer. Sir. The galaxy waited, not for a war, not for a decree, but for something far more dangerous. A choice. The Empress returned to her throne world in silence. No victory parade followed her. No speeches echoed through the stars. Yet every ruler, every council, every criminal empire felt the shift. Because now they knew. Power had limits. Kindness did not. On Harbor 9, Evan's life became strangely ordinary. He still woke up early. He still cooked simple meals. He still walked the same corridors with a worn bag over his shoulder. The only difference was that no one dared stop him. The children grew. Lyra learned to read human symbols. Kesh laughed loudly now, unafraid. Tal trained with both discipline and compassion, guided equally by royal tutors and a human who taught him how to fix broken things instead of breaking people. One day, Tal asked, "Why did you never leave?" Evan thought about it. "Because someone had to show up," he said, "every day." The children understood. The Empress watched from afar. She did not interfere. She learned. Empires rose on fear. They survived on control. But this human had built loyalty without asking, so she changed. Policies shifted. Child labor across imperial space ended overnight. Refuge corridors were established on every major station. Hunger became an enemy the Empire actively hunted. When advisors questioned her, she answered simply, "I have seen a better way." Years later, a memorial was built on Harbor 9. Not a statue of the Empress. Not a monument to fleets or wars. It was a simple bench in a quiet corridor. A small plaque read, "Here, a human fed children." The galaxy learned what strength truly is. Visitors from 1,000 worlds stopped there. Some bowed. Some wept. Some left food behind just in case. Evan never asked for it. He just kept cooking. When Evan grew old, the Empress came again. This time, she sat beside him on the bench. "You changed the galaxy," she said softly. Evan smiled. No, I made lunch. She bowed her head. When Evan passed, the galaxy mourned. Fleets dimmed their lights. Worlds observed silence. Children across the stars were fed in his name, and long after empires faded, the story remained. A human, a lunch bag, and the simple truth that kindness, repeated every day, can rule the galaxy.